I didn't invite you just to save on babysitter fees. But if you're not willing to help, then don't bother coming." That single line glowed on the cold screen of my phone. I read it 3 times without blinking. It was a message from my younger sister, Lauren. Just a merciless, one-sided text. As if I were nothing more than one of the interchangeable parts in her fantasy of a perfect Christmas vacation. Deep inside my chest, something that had been stretched tight for years quietly, snapped decisively. The sound was mine alone to hear. It was the signal of an ending. "My name is Mandy. I'm 34. I've built a decent career in the world of digital marketing." Months earlier, Lauren had called me in a voice dripping with stress and neediness. Even though I instinctively braced myself, I still listened. "Mandy. How are you? Listen, I need to talk to you about something." She was dreaming of the perfect family Christmas getaway. Her plan sounded like it had been lifted from the glossy pages of a luxury travel magazine, dazzling, but utterly unrealistic. A 5-star ski resort deep in the snowy mountains. A private log cabin with a fireplace and jacuzzi. Daily ski lessons for the kids, and even a special night when Santa Claus would visit their room. Her voice brimmed with excitement and fantasy, but beneath it all was a stain she couldn't hide, the crushing truth that they simply didn't have the money. Paul's bonus was smaller than we hoped. "But I want the kids to have the best Christmas ever. Kristen's been singing 'Do You Want to Build a Snowman?' for months. Please, Mandy. You're the only one I can turn to." The moment I heard those words, sirens blared in my head. And yet, her plea pierced the softest part of me. My niece Kristen and my nephew Ryan. They weren't guilty of anything. Would my refusal rob them of happy memories? Maybe it was guilt. Or maybe it was the foolish, fragile hope that sharing this once-in-a-lifetime experience could thaw the ice between my sister and me. After hanging up the phone, I ended up deciding to help. "About what you asked, I'll cover the costs." "But really? Oh my God, thank you, Mandy. I love you. You're the best sister in the world." Before I could add any conditions, she cut me off with a squeal and a flood of gratitude, then ended the call. I set the phone down with a heavy sigh. A flicker of unease stirred in my chest, but I shoved it deep down. For the next few weeks, I arranged everything just as she wanted. The resort booking. First-class flights. Activities at the destination. I only wanted to see my niece and nephew laughing in the snow. Just once in my life, I wanted a peaceful, warm moment as a family. That was all. I asked for nothing in return. No expensive gifts, no overblown gratitude. Just once during the trip, if she could smile at me and say, "Thank you, Mandy. This is all because of you," I thought that would be enough. That fragile hope was crushed by a seemingly harmless call just days before departure. "Mandy. Great news. My best friend's family can join us too. With their kids, that makes 5 in total. It's going to be such a lively, fun Christmas. Paul's so glad you'll be there to help with all the kids." As Lauren's cheerful voice bounced through the receiver, my face was drained of blood. I took a slow breath, chose my words carefully, and answered as calmly as I could. "Wait, Lauren. That's wonderful news, but I'm not going there to take care of all the kids. I'm not a babysitter." After a brief silence, Lauren's tone turned unmistakably cold. "Excuse me? What are you talking about? You just have to help a little. We're family, aren't we?" "A little? Hardly. And it's different when it involves children I don't even know. If you truly need extra help, I can cover the cost of hiring a professional sitter at the resort." That was my final offer. My last kindness. But minutes later, my phone lit up with the message I opened this story with. Right before the trip, my sister demanded, without the slightest hesitation, that I babysit her guest sons throughout Christmas. She treated me, the very person funding the entire vacation, as if I were nothing more than free childcare. And when I refused, Lauren shot back with that message, "Then don't come." I was not only the financial sponsor footing the bill, but was also expected, without question, to serve as an unpaid babysitter for my sister's children, as well as for the kids of a family whose names and faces I didn't even know. I stared at the words again. Don't come. Those words were no longer just a suggestion or a request. It was a cold verdict, a final judgment on my worth. And I decided, with quiet resolve, to accept that judgment. Don't come. Her words sank like a stone in the pit of my stomach. It wasn't mere rejection. It was a ruthless declaration that my value, in her eyes, existed only when it served her convenience. Along with it went all the money I had given, and the last shred of hope I'd held. What had once been an act of goodwill worthy of gratitude had been reduced to nothing more than a ticket for further servitude. I gripped my phone tightly, feeling my fingertips turn white with anger. When exactly had I become a piece of free labor slotted into her life plans? My holiday was supposed to be spent at a luxury ski resort, reading quietly by the fire. Instead, it had somehow been twisted into endless drudgery, changing diapers for children whose names I didn't even know, calming tantrums, spoon-feeding carefully prepared allergen-free meals. While Lauren and Paul would sip hot wine under twinkling lights, gazing romantically at the resort's decorations, I would be left wrangling a small army of kids through the freezing cold children's area. The thought alone made me nauseous, and burned with an even fiercer rage. Even so, the last shred of reason inside me urged a calm reply. I took a deep breath, my fingers trembling as I chose each word carefully. This was my final act of kindness as an older sister. My last concession. Lauren, I am not a babysitter. If you truly need extra help, you should hire someone professional at the resort. If it's a matter of cost, I can even consider covering that. I was still trying to give her a choice. Still clinging to the foolish hope that maybe, just maybe, our bond could be salvaged. But the reply that appeared on my screen just minutes later was more than enough to shatter that fragile hope into pieces. We don't have money for a sitter. All you have to do is help a little. What's with that tone? We're family, aren't we? Or do you just want to prove, like always, that you're a cold person who only thinks about herself? Family. There it was again. Every time she used that word, it was nothing more than a spell to take something from me. When she claimed my accomplishments as her own. When our parents so obviously favored only her. It was always because we're family. And with that phrase, my feelings and efforts were dismissed, erased, treated as worthless. The truth is, I've never once truly wanted children. Don't misunderstand me, I don't harbor some deep hatred for kids. I simply don't have that endless patience, that saintly, maternal well of tolerance. And I've never felt guilty about it. I find meaning in my work. I know my limits. Within those limits, I build the best life I can. That's my philosophy. My younger sister, Lauren, 3 years behind me, chose the opposite path at full speed. She married Paul, her gentle high school sweetheart. Now she has 2 children, 8-year-old Kristen and 5-year-old Ryan, bundles of pure energy. Their suburban home is modest but always bursting with love, and just as much chaos. The living room floor is buried under colorful toys, and the walls are plastered with the kids' mysterious drawings, like an impromptu modern art gallery. That's the life she chose. And she seemed to love it, at least if her social media posts were anything to go by. Our relationship had always been complicated. Since childhood, Lauren was the sun, and I was nothing more than an unnamed planet circling in her orbit. Our parents' love was never shared equally. In our house, affection was focused solely on Lauren. What reached me were scraps, or indifference. By high school, the difference had grown undeniable. The night I won first prize in a local design contest, my hands trembled as I held the trophy and shared the news with my family. My father didn't even look up from his newspaper. Is that so? My mother said, "That's great, Mandy. But it's not like you'll make money from it, right?" At dinner that night, the family's attention was consumed by Lauren's near miss, being chosen only as an alternate for the cheerleading squad. Mandy just got lucky. Lauren's the one really fighting in a competitive world. My mother said it as she comforted my sister, who was feigning tears. My heavy crystal trophy, awarded for intricate cityscape blueprints, was never even examined. By the end of that day, it sat forgotten on the back of my bedroom shelf. Even in adulthood, that warped structure never changed. I left home. I went to therapy. I built my own life through hard work. And I learned to say no, even to family, when something threatened my peace of mind. Still, I loved my niece and nephew. I had been away on long business trips for years and missed seeing them at Christmas. I only agreed this time because I wanted to see their smiles again. That was the only reason I didn't refuse Lauren's offer. A burning ache spread through my chest. This was no longer just anger. It was the sound of years of disappointment and sorrow finally igniting. I didn't reply. I didn't call. I waited for that uncontrollable wave of emotion to burn itself out inside me, quietly, yet fiercely. And by the next morning, when I awoke in the dim light, my heart was astonishingly calm. Like the air after a storm, everything was clear. I knew exactly what I had to do. Lauren had trampled, without hesitation, the very last boundary I had spent years to build. And so, it was my turn to show her just how cold and unyielding reality could be. I rose from bed quietly, still in my pajamas, and went straight to my desk. The scent of fresh coffee filled the room. My hands, steady as I watched the steam curl upward, no longer trembled with yesterday's fury. The anger had hardened into something colder, sharper, like diamond. The first call I made was to the travel agent, John. He was the one handling the lavish ski resort package I had booked entirely in my name, fully paid on my credit card. His cheerful voice came through the speaker. "Good morning, Mandy. Is there something about your Christmas trip I can help you with?" "Yes, John. Good morning. I'd like to cancel the Christmas vacation I booked recently, all of it." My calm tone seemed to leave him momentarily speechless. "Cancel? All of it? Was there a problem, ma'am?" "Yes. All of it, personal reasons." I kept my explanation simple but vague. His voice turned sympathetic as he carefully explained the cancellation policy. Of course, there would be fees. However, he explained that most of the total amount I had paid would be refunded. Without a second's hesitation, I answered firmly. "That's fine. Please proceed. It was booked with my card, in my name. I have every right to cancel." "I understand. I'll begin the process immediately." After hanging up, I logged into the airline's website. The first-class seat map gleamed almost mockingly. 4 luxurious tickets, for Lauren, Paul, Kristen, and Ryan. All arranged by me, in a moment of foolish goodwill. I didn't flinch. I clicked the red button beside the reservation number, "Cancel this booking." A confirmation box appeared. "This action cannot be undone." "Are you sure?" I actually smiled as I clicked yes. Even when the flat, impersonal message appeared on the screen, "Your reservation has been successfully cancelled," I didn't feel a shred of guilt. Not the slightest bit. On the contrary, it felt as though I had finally set down a burden I had carried for years. Next came the cancellation of the luxury SUV rental I had booked at the resort. The matching ski gear I had reserved in just the right sizes for the kids. The coveted dinner reservation at a steakhouse Paul had been bragging about to his colleagues. The reindeer sleigh ride the children had been convinced would bring them face to face with Santa Claus. For a brief moment, Kristen's smile flickered in my mind, and a small ache tugged at my chest. But it was quickly buried beneath a firmer resolve. It was also an adult's responsibility not to feed children a warped version of love. One by one, like checking off tasks at work, I methodically cancelled everything. On the phone, through online forms, I was always polite, but unyielding. Every booking had been made in my name. Every charge drawn from my account. And that gave me absolute authority to bring it all to an end. Hours later, my inbox overflowed with cancellation confirmations from hotels and airlines, and refund notices from my credit card company. Yes, I lost some money, non-refundable deposits, penalties for the late notice. But compared to the peace of mind I was gaining, and the life lesson Lauren was about to learn, the price was laughably cheap. Then came my final move, the cruelest, and the most satisfying. I did nothing. I didn't send Lauren a warning email to break the news. I didn't make a call to explain the situation or gauge her reaction. I simply left everything to the cold silence. If Lauren truly wanted to spend her perfect Christmas vacation without my help, then so be it. Let her see how far she could get with no flights, no hotel, no ski passes, and most of all, no money to pay for them. And I would be right here, watching from the best seat in the house. The first signs of trouble came quietly, like the stillness before a storm. A missed call from Lauren at 2 a.m., just days before departure. By morning, a casual text, "Hey, do you know why I haven't gotten the airline's final confirmation email yet?" There was no suspicion in her words yet. Just a clueless question. I read the text. Then slowly turned my phone face down. No reply. Instead, I opened a brand new novel, breathed in the scent of freshly brewed herbal tea, and sank into the sofa. The soft winter sunlight streaming through the window warmed my skin as I turned the first page. My phone, with notifications turned off, lay silent on the living room table, as if it didn't exist at all. Though I knew a storm was coming, my heart felt strangely calm. This was the ending I had chosen. But on the morning of their scheduled departure, at 5 a.m., the silence before dawn shattered into chaos. When I woke up, the screen by my pillow was blinking wildly, like a Christmas tree gone mad, with missed calls and message alerts. 15 missed calls. And when I opened the message app, Lauren's panicked text poured down the screen like a waterfall. At first, they were just confused fragments. "What's going on? The counter says there's no reservation. The airline staff said your card was declined. Check it right now." But as she made desperate calls from the airport and slowly realized the truth, panic gave way to fury. "You canceled it, didn't you? This was all you. Are you insane? Do you have any idea how much the kids were looking forward to this?" Reading her words, I could almost hear my niece and nephew crying in the background. It was as though, in that very moment, she finally grasped the obvious, that without funding, her glittering plans were nothing but castles in the sand. Then came the familiar stage, guilt-tripping, soaked in self-pity. "You're punishing Kristen and Ryan. What did they ever do to you? You're destroying precious family memories just for your stupid pride. You've always been this way. Cold. Selfish, thinking only of yourself." I couldn't help but let out a dry laugh. So typical of Lauren. She never admitted fault. She always lashed out at everyone around her, then proclaimed herself the most tragic victim alive. But behind her desperate messages, it was obvious she was buckling under a pressure she had never known. This wasn't just a family trip anymore. It was her pride itself, the perfect content she had planned to flaunt on social media. The perfect mother. The perfect wife. The perfect life. And now, in the very public setting of the airport departure hall, that carefully polished illusion was crumbling before everyone's eyes. I waited until well past lunchtime before replying. Not because I needed time to find the right words. But because I wanted her to sit in that hellish despair a little longer. I wanted her to experience firsthand just how humiliating and wounding it feels to have a promise broken unilaterally, and to be treated not as a person, but as an object, a tool. Finally, I sent just one short line. "You told me not to come. So I assumed my money wasn't invited either." The silence that followed lasted no more than 5 minutes. Then came, as expected, the blame. "You know that's not what I meant. Why are you being so cruel?" And then, almost like clockwork, the next message followed. "Fine. You win. I was wrong. Please, just rebook everything. Give me your card info, I'll handle it. Please, we have to do this for the kids." There was an apology. But there was no trace of remorse. It was nothing more than a bitter white flag, raised for no reason other than to escape the crisis. She still had no intention of understanding my years of pain. She only wanted access to the magic solution, money. I stared at her message for 10 long minutes. And I remembered, with crystal clarity, why I had taken such a ruthless step. Why I had spent years, through trial and therapy and grief, building the wall I called boundaries. Lauren still lived in the same chaotic, self-centered world she always had. And I refused, ever again, to let myself be dragged into it. So I didn't reply. Over the next few days, through friends and concerned relatives, I heard about what had become of Lauren and her family. Apparently, Paul had tried to salvage the trip with his nearly maxed-out credit card, but it had less than $700 of credit left. The luxury ski resort became a rundown roadside motel, chilled by winter winds. The first-class flights turned into an endless, exhausting drive. There were no gifts. No feast. Only heavy silence, broken by children crying for hours. Lauren and Paul, I was told, ended up screaming at each other, dragging old resentments into the fight. Their perfect Christmas vacation collapsed into a nightmarish road trip, ending quietly and miserably. As for me, I spent Christmas with friends, quiet, peaceful, and deeply fulfilling, far away from the noise of the city. In a sleek, modern mountain cabin where the fireplace crackled warmly. We slow-roasted chicken, sipped fine wine, and filled the air with classical music. On nights when the snow fell thick and silent, we slipped into the outdoor private jacuzzi overlooking the snowy landscape, champagne in hand, and gazed for hours at a star-filled sky you could never see in the city. There were no children's screams, no unreasonable demands, no obligation to shoulder someone else's stress alone. There was only genuine peace, and the warmth of easy friendship. The contrast between Lauren's chaotic, disastrous Christmas and my own serene, perfect holiday was as sharp, and as cruel, as the difference between a dark winter sky and fresh white snow. And it was the clearest proof that my cold decision had been absolutely right. A few days after the storm called Christmas vacation had passed, the phone rang through my quiet room. It was Paul. His voice, coming through the speaker, was deeper and more serious than I had ever heard. "Mandy, I'm truly sorry for what happened. Sorry to you, and sorry as Lauren's husband. I want to apologize from the bottom of my heart. This wasn't the hollow regret of someone making excuses." His words carried the weight of someone who had accepted the truth. "I saw your Instagram. You're living your life with dignity. And compared to that, we used your kindness, trampled your respect. Especially Lauren, she treated you not as family, but as a tool. As her husband, I should have recognized it sooner and stopped her. I'm so sorry." I just listened in silence. After that, Lauren and I had a serious talk. About everything she's done to you. About the stupidity of showing off a life we couldn't afford on social media. This is her punishment. I've canceled all her credit cards. From now on, I'll manage the household finances completely. She needs to learn what reality really is. What he described went beyond anything I had imagined. Lauren had stopped posting her glittering updates online, or rather, she'd been forced to. With her source of show-off money cut off, she had started working part-time at a cafe in the neighborhood. After dropping the kids at school, she tied on an apron and worked behind the counter, something everyone in town could see. Whether she truly learns her lesson, I don't know. But this is a new beginning for our family, one where we face reality, the way you taught us to. I'll repay every dollar you lost. It'll take time, but I promise. "It's all right, Paul," I said, quietly interrupting him. That was the most valuable tuition I've ever paid, for myself. After hanging up, I gazed out at the winter sky. Revenge was complete. Yet what I felt wasn't exhilaration. It was something deeper, quieter, the kind of stillness found at the bottom of the sea. I had protected my worth. Not by letting others decide it for me, but by drawing the line myself. Setting boundaries isn't a cold act of rejection. It's a painful but noble step, an act of courage that makes respect and healthy connection possible. The silence of my room no longer felt like loneliness. It was the sound of peace, peace I had chosen and claimed with my own hands.